Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Rago.
I'm Ewan.
And today we're going to do something kind of new for the channel. We're going to do a versus video, but get a little dialogue going. And we were going to talk about big air versus freestyle, and we're going to hit on like the mindset, the culture, and some of the gear picks. And Ewan here, I'm sure you all know, is one of the top riders in both of those disciplines. So I figured, why not pick his brain on it and see what his thoughts are.
Sounds good, yeah.
So moving on to like your freestyle setup, I mean, you're using sea kites, you're using a big board. I'd love to talk about that, and I've actually done a lot of videos on like sea kites versus everything, and talking about how riders who are like in their first year probably should check out like the crossover kites.
Yeah.
But something I've never actually addressed is like when you're like on that level where you can ride upwind, you can relaunch a kite, you're trying like your first rally to blind or something like that. There's actually a lot of advantages that you're not going to hear about and nobody talks about anymore with the sea kites.
Yeah, for sure. It's been kind of a thing in the kiteboarding industry over the last 15 years, since like the SLE and bow kites and hybrid kites and all that came around. In the last 5 years, a lot of brands have kind of discontinued their sea kites. Luckily at Nash, we're still like pushing that side of the sport.
Yeah.
And we're, like dedicated to seeing the guys at the top of their game have the right equipment to use it. Because really, there is no substitute for a sea kite in freestyle.
Yeah,
there's
for
a few guys
nothing.
for sure that on the world tour, there's been like Yuri Zun and a few of those guys who are able to make it happen. But you see those guys, Yuri, he's like a super freak athlete, like stronger than anyone ever. Doesn't matter what kite he's on, he's going to be able to do stuff.
It does take more strength when you're on another kite like a because sea kites are actually easier for the unhooked riding. Like they actually make the tricks easier. Yeah,
they're the easiest. If you're wanting to do any flat water tricks that aren't straight big air, a sea kite is going to make them easier. It's going to be less pressure on your arms. You get the slack that like you're going for a trick and you can hold on with 2 fingers. It's like so light.
You just drop
it's so
into
much
things.
easier. You drop into things. It's consistent. It's predictable. It's 5th line safety. If you're worried about the safety, any 5-line sea kite, the 5th line is the safest form of a safety release there is. It works every time. It helps you with relaunch. Like, they're super easy to use, and I think it's a little bit of a shame that we've lost a lot of the sea kite market in the last few years.
Yeah, it's
a lot of
kind of a big
to
bummer.
do with marketing and stuff, but for sure, if you're getting into freestyle or any sort of flat water or even chop riding, where you're not into just big air, you want to do your railies, you want to do an S-bend, even some hooked in tricks.
Yeah,
all the way up to pro riding, a sea kite is the easiest thing, no doubt. It's definitely easier than any kind of supported leading edge kite. So
yeah, I think that a lot of that comes down to like the culture with kiteboarding as well, because like even just 5-6 years ago there was like a really strong movement with the freestyle and the wake style.
Yeah.
And now big air is like everything, and that's I mean that's awesome, but also it kind of, when you're talking about a kite and like you're trying to help somebody pick a kite, it's almost like, oh, this kite's awesome. Well, no, it's not awesome. Well, it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do. So yeah, like you said, big air riders, big air kites. It makes sense. And
a lot of the world though, it's like big air, it's like you can't do it. It's not accessible in a lot of places in the world where you've got, I don't know, like around here, like Florida gets a lot of light wind.
Yeah, we had a lot of good, a good 13, 14 meter sea kite sessions in Florida.
And if you're on a 13 or 14 meter sea kite, that is like the most accessible conditions for freestyle.
You'll land everything. Yeah.
It's like so chill, it's so easy on your body, so easy on your arms. You're not going to get slammed around like people might say you might with a sea kite. Whereas for big air, if you're in those conditions, it's actually probably going to be a lot worse for your body, because you're going to be going out underpowered trying to do kite loops and just dropping out the sky.
Yeah, for sure. That can actually, that's a big one.
So
one thing too I've noticed is there's a big stigma with the relaunch, and I've kind of found in my experience, I've been trying a lot of them now just in the last few months. Some definitely have like a much easier like automatic relaunch than others. I did try the torch. I actually found that one to be pretty easy.
Yeah,
it popped right up for me.
Especially the 5th line. Like the torch now, it's got stiffer than it was before. Like say 10 years ago, you'd need to use the 5th line to relaunch.
Yeah.
Now it's the leading edge is a lot stiffer. You can just relaunch it like a normal kite, like any kite.
Yeah.
But in light wind, a lot of people actually struggle to relaunch a bow kite or an SLE kite by just pulling on one line. You have to start swing towards it and all that. With a 5th line, if there's 5-10 knots of wind, as long as your kite can fly, you can relaunch it.
Yeah,
with
it's
the
pretty
fifth
cool.
line.
You just
like it's for sure better
offer it up.
relaunch. It's maybe with the fifth line takes a little longer, but you can relaunch in a lot less wind with the fifth line. So the relaunch, as long as you know the technique, you're gonna get it up every time.
That's the trick, is you have to, because when I
Yeah.
first started trying a few, I had to learn the technique because I
Yeah.
never needed it before.
And
so
it's funny,
it was a trick.
not really, there's not much to it. It's
No,
like
you just
pretty
pull the
basic.
line.
You pull the fifth line until it's halfway on its back, and then you pull an outside line like normal, and then slowly let the fifth line
Yeah.
out. It's like a pretty basic technique, but kiting got to a point where the only way people would buy a kite that they thought relaunched well was if you just turn the
Automatic.
bar,
Yep.
pull the line. It's like that's as hard as it can be.
For sure,
So-
it's like a trade-off for performance.
Yeah.
I mean, my take is just if you're that rider who's like trying to get to the next level, they're more predictable.
Yeah.
They're more consistent. I actually found them to be more stable and gusty
Yeah.
wind. For
And I find
on-hook riding.
the usable wind range is a lot more as well.
Yeah, it's more
Like,
usable.
okay, if you're a beginner and you don't have any edge control, the wind range is a lot smaller.
Yep,
But as
that's
soon
the
as
trick.
you've got technique to use your edge, instead of sheeting out with the kite, you use your edge to control the power. And for unhooking, like, for example, if I was to take a pivot out, if I'm going to ever unhook on it, which is pretty hard, and we're not trying to promote the pivot as an unhooking
No,
kite,
you
it's
wouldn't.
not. But if you were to, you'd need to be perfectly powered, just powered enough to stay upwind. Any more, it's going to rip your arms out when you're unhooked. It like pulls quite hard. But your usable unhooked wind range on any supported leading edge kite, like a hybrid kite, is like probably, say a 12 meter, you'd be from 16 to 20 knots or something. It's like pretty small range. With a torch 12 meter, I can make it work from like 15 up to like 25 knots. You can still hold it because with that edge control and the slack it gives you, as long as you keep the kite in the same position, which is a lot easier on a sea kite, you still get that slack and you can always go for the pass. So their usable wind range is huge.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to experience when you
Yeah.
when you cross over, when you're trying for like unhook tricks, and it's like, again, like learning a new sport. Like, oh wow, I never knew these things before.
Yeah.
The range is actually great for unhooked, even though maybe it's not the greatest for like hooked in and looping and
Yeah.
all that. It's really funny thing to wrap your brain around.
There's so much to kind of figure out with it, which is definitely something I've been exploring a lot in the last few years.
I appreciate the
Thank you.
interview. I hope you guys found some useful nuggets of information out of that, whatever your discipline is. And if you found the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.